Good afternoon, plant friends. Well, I've dressed up for you today. I've been out painting the house and I've decided to take action on this Dendrobium Atroviolaceum. You can see it's had some fungal infection, it's been burnt by the sun, and it was one orchid that did not like the 6 months of rain last year. I had this hanging in a tree just to bring it to my attention, so I remembered to repot it and have a look at it. So I was just finishing painting the house and thought, come on, before you get cleaned up, let's do this. So I have unpotted the plant and the media was completely mush. As a result, so were many of the roots. I've pruned many of them off. I have sterilised these. I'll just put a little bit more isopropyl alcohol on there, and there's a couple more there I'll remove. So as a result, there's not a lot of roots on these two pieces. This was one plant and it did separate, so I've decided to plant it in two separate pots, hedging my bets that hopefully one will survive, and in a perfect world both will survive. I've been through this plant also. There doesn't seem to be any pests bothering it. I have treated them for the fungus, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this will result in some new growth and two happy plants. I'm going to completely change up the media today as well, so I'll show you that in a moment. You know, it's all looking pretty good, but it's well overdue for some attention. Now when I pulled it apart too, there was this little fern in there, bird's nest fern, so I'm going to pot that up later. I'm running very low on orchid pots, so I've just grabbed these two, and I don't know whether they might be a little bit big, but they'll do the job today. But sadly, that's all I have. Yep, this one might be a bit big for there, but any port in a storm. Now the media I'm using today, I'm using clay pebbles. I'm going to use the medium bark and some large perlite. This is something quite different for me. I have been soaking this so it is damp, and I always like to pot with media that has been moistened. Now there is a little bug in there. What is that? Little centipede walking on the back there. I may just have to go and put him in the garden, so I shall return in a moment. Excellent, there we go, he's happy in the garden. Right, let's address number one. So I can see that this pot is a little bit big for the orchid. As I said, I do not have any smaller ones for it. We'll start to fill the base of this now to ensure that the crown is clear of media, and I like to bring them up almost to the height or just above or just below the pot, the edge of the pot. Given that I've removed so many roots from these two plants, I'm going to have to secure them very well in the pot. I like them to be nice and still so they can establish their root system. And what helps this is the fact that they shouldn't be wobbling around. Fingers crossed that this media that I'm using is going to be well received by these two orchids. Now I'm quite happy with that. That's nice and clear. The crown's clear. Seems fairly firm in the pot. Yep, that's all good. A little bit of a squeeze there. I don't like to jam orchids into pots and cram the media in. I'm not a big fan of that. Let's do our first stake. I think I might actually hang these in my greenhouse. So what I'll end up doing is, because the hangers secure to these pots with 3 clips coming down, I'm going to secure parts of these orchids to those hangers as well. I haven't got them here, so I won't be able to show you that, but I think it's all going to add to the stability of the plant and hopefully encourage some fairly rapid and strong root growth. As you'll see, this cane is sticking above that growth. Now, strongly recommend, because I've done it myself, that you get your heavier duty secateurs and snip that down. Otherwise you will poke yourself in the eye. And I'm speaking from experience. Sometimes I used to leave them because I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be good, it'll grow a bit higher and I could just move the twist further up, but it's not a good idea when you poke yourself in the eye. So I'm pretty happy with that one. That's looking better, much better than what it was in before. It's a cute little fern. It's got to have a new home. Now, looking at number 2, I don't know that I'm going to have enough media left, so I may go and replenish my tray, and then we won't have to stop halfway through. Back soon. There we go. There's nothing worse than starting to repot something and you run out of media right in the beginning. Now, while I was gone, I also grabbed my favourite orchid book to show you. This is Botanica's Orchids. Now, my boys bought this online for me. It was secondhand when they bought it. And I think the bookstore was an American store. It has over 1,200 species of orchids, and it's got just enough information as a reference book. I find it really, really excellent. It gives a little bit about where they're from. There's the Atroviolaceum there. So that is a Latoria type Dendrobium, species of Papua New Guinea, and it gives a little bit about the conditions and if it's a cool intermediate or warm growing orchid. All the orchids are listed in there alphabetically, and it's a super, super book to have. If you can get your hands on one, I'd highly recommend it. I haven't seen many around. I did see one floating around an orchid society I attended some time ago. Okay, back to the task. Let's get this guy in the pot. So I've cleared this one out as well. I did check it for pests, as I said earlier, and it's looking good. I've had them both drying out, so they're at a point where I'm just going to move forward with the roots they've got. The Atroviolaceum is an absolutely beautiful Latoria type orchid. This one had actually flowered for me on 2 or 3 occasions now, when it was obviously feeling healthier. Gorgeous deep purple in the lip. There's a lime green hue to that around that on the petals and sepals, and it has some little speckling as well, as I remember. So it's a beautiful thing, and the flowers just lasted for like 3 or 4 months. They were absolutely adorable. So I was very sorry to see it in this condition. And we'll just fill this in here. Now, I am thinking this one's going to have to be secured very well. It's pretty top heavy and there's not much going on in regard to roots in the pot. So we'll have to be aware of this. You can see it wobbling around there already. That's what I do not want to happen. So the Botanicus does state that this is an intermediate to hot growing orchid, and I've had it growing in the greenhouse but right at the top. So it is getting a lot of good direct sun there, but it's about 50% shake off it's under, and I'm talking good midday sun that it gets there. So what I'm going to do now that I have my little project on my deck is bring one of these plants up. It's going to get that little bit extra sun again, and I'm going to leave one down the back in the same environment that it was growing to initially. I'm just going to see which one does better in which conditions. Now that's looking quite stable in there. I'm quite pleased with that. I have only brought 2 stakes here, but I'm guessing, let's get these in first and see how secure this plant is. Yeah, that'll get that in firmly. And tie that one off. My twisty tie reels had a little bit of a technical glitch. It's coming out of all directions. Okay. Perfect. Now we'll get the second one in. Where should we put that? Probably opposite direction to the other one's going to be optimal. I'm thinking, yeah, let's get it in here. It's a good cane, and that'll secure it to that one as well. It's a fairly upright grower, this one, so it's not too unruly like some of my soft cane dendrobiums that seem to grow all over the place. I have a video coming up on a Dendrobium moscatum, and that one is a very tall and unruly grower. It's something to see. Okay, tie you off, and let's see how that's going. I'm so happy to get this job done. It's been on my mind for so long, so I thought I'd just do a quick video on it. Yeah, I think I'm going to put another one in here after this video. That'll be better. So that's looking quite stable in there now. Crowns are nice and clear. I'll put a bit of slow release fertilizer in these, and we'll all keep our orchid grower fingers crossed that we have some growth and 2 happy Dendrobium Atroviolaceum. Yeah, I'll sleep better tonight knowing these are done. And I will do the same thing. I'm going to put a hanger on this one and secure it to the hanger as well, because that is definitely a top heavy orchid. Okay, looking good, very happy, and as you would all probably know, and if you don't, you should have guessed, plant tags. So I haven't brought my pencil here, but I think, yeah, they've got one there. So after this video, I will fill out these tags and make sure I pop them in the pot. And I always like to put the date on the tag that I've actually repotted these orchids as well. Job well done. Happy I shared that with you. I'm going to go and get some soil now and pot this little fern up. And then after that, I'm going to jump in the shower because I am absolutely filthy. Thanks for watching. Thought I'd share this with you, and I look forward to sharing future videos.